Hey everyone, welcome back to
Powered
Beyond the
by
Degree.
Riverside FM.
Navigating life after graduation can be a whirlwind of emotions, to the stress of figuring out your career path. But it's also a time for amazing experiences and self discovery. Today, we're chatting with Ananya Chaturvedi, a graduate from LSR and a multifaceted professional. She's here to share her insights on how to make the most of your post graduation degree and leverage your skills to find a fulfilling career. All right, so I think we can dive in. And so, shall we start now with your introduction? Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi Anjali. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm great. I also had a podcast when I was in college, so I think this feels very nostalgic that way. But yeah, I graduated from LSR in 2022. I was also a part of the COVID batch, so I only had like 1.5 years in college. And then I went on to join D Shaw as an associate, which is where I worked for 2 years. Yeah, and also now I'm working with the startup world, and I've recently joined this startup called Spill, and I'm working with them on a freelance basis. And yeah, let's dive in and let's talk about my journey and other things around it.
Perfect. So, the first question is how did you transition from the academic world of English literature and economics to the fast paced business environment at the D Shop Group?
Right. So I feel like, my degree actually acted to my advantage because when you're studying liberal arts, you're not just studying the subject from one perspective. So if you're also from English honors, so you would know, right, that when you're studying a text, it's that you have
Absolutely.
to study the context in which it was written, from a sociological, political perspective. Also, like psychology also comes into play and history also comes into play. So I mean it's an amalgamation of a lot of things which make you understand why the author would have said what they said, which in turns I think shapes your mind in a very specific way. You start looking at the world in a very different way, and I mean, as they also joke about it, right, that English honors is more about reading in between the lines. I mean, that's literally the in the job description of the course.
True.
So I think that
True.
actually helped me the most to carve out my own niche and carve out my own journey in the corporate world, and whatever, I mean, professionally I've done otherwise as well. I think it gave me a voice which was very unique, which was very much of my own, because I realized that there's no point putting myself in boxes. And I remember when I initially joined LSR, I was just so taken aback by the wonderful women I was surrounded with. Everybody was pursuing some or the other thing. It's just that, I felt like, oh, maybe I should be joining this society, or maybe I should be doing this internship, or maybe I should take part in sports or something. And then I realized that it's not about finding boxes to fit in, it's about creating your own, right? And I think just embracing that gave me the confidence to just do whatever my heart was in and really stand out in whatever I did post that as well.
True. Absolutely agree with you. Okay, so moving on. What were the biggest challenges you faced in adapting to the corporate world after graduation?
Right. So, I mean, in terms of technical knowledge, I feel there were not many challenges because we had an extensive training period at the Shaw, which equipped me with all the skill sets and knowledge I needed to possess in order to do well in the job. And yeah, I mean, I think even in college, I was constantly willing to upskill myself. I was taking up multiple courses. I was doing multiple internships. I had done some corporate internships as well. Like I've worked with the Times of India, and I worked with Now and Me, which is a startup. So I did have some corporate exposure in that sense. So I did have the soft skills required to, I think, survive in the corporate. But I think, having said that, there were also like some other things which I realized later in my life that are also very important. And I think especially in corporate. So I think I've always been someone who like strongly believes in the fact that your work should speak for itself. But I feel like when you're in corporate, especially when you're in a front facing role, when your impact, the kind of impact that you're making matters. I feel like it's also very important to speak up about your work in meetings, in your manager catch ups. And I think initially when I joined LSR, I was such an introvert. And then there was this whole journey of me becoming an extrovert and, just putting myself out there more often. So I think even at DE Shaw, I sort of made sure that I was doing that after a point, because I realized that that's also very important. It's not just important that you do your work, but also actively vouch for it and actively talk about it, so that you can innovate and ideate and make it better.
Indeed, standing out is really important these days. So I think with this, we can move on with the next question. You have had a diverse career journey from journalism to entrepreneurship. Factors influenced your decision to explore different paths?
Right. So I think, like I said previously in the podcast as well, right, that I realized that it's not about finding boxes to fit in. It's about creating my own. I think I've always been very curious as a person. I think that explains my various stints in diverse fields. So obviously when I joined English honors, I mean, the idea was to write more and to even become a journalist, because I mean, if you are interested in writing, then I mean, you either become a journalist or you become a full-time writer, or you become probably like a content creator, content writer, or someone like that, right? So I was like, okay, let's explore this. And I think college is the best time to do that. I think a lot of people are just so busy chasing the perfect resumes in college, that they forget that it is about experimentation, because there's no other time like college. Once you start doing a full-time job or even internship post college, once you've graduated, I feel like it's very difficult to just experiment and explore for the sake of it. I feel like you can just make mistakes in college, and just learn from it, and not even if you don't get a tangible outcome out of it, it's fine, because that's what college is about. So I think I always had that sort of mindset when I was in college, and that's why I mean, I actively pursued journalism. I worked with the Times of India, I worked with Beat, and I also wrote for Livewire. And even when I was working at Now and Me, which is a mental health startup, I was doing a lot of journalistic oriented things. Like I was interviewing people, and I was writing blogs, and I was managing a team of interns who were writing blogs. So again, I think that was also very journalistic in nature. And then I realized that, I mean, I really like writing, but probably journalism is not something that I'd want to make a full-time career out of. But I still love writing, and I still do write, and I'm still, trying to get back to it in a freelance way. But and then I think, corporate was again, something that I wanted to try, because I sat for placements. It was so random. I was not planning on sitting for placements, but then I was like, okay, this is also an experience, so let's do it. And I got into DE Shaw, and then I remember I got into BBC as well, and I applied to BBC off campus, and I got that as well. And that was a writing / branding marketing role. That was also very interesting, but the pay was, I felt like I would have been underpaid if I would have taken up that role. And then I realized that D Shaw would make more sense, and then it just happened. And I think I did learn a lot in these past 2 years. And then entrepreneurship is something that I've recently realized, something that, really stimulates me, in the sense that given I have so many diverse interests, I think the idea of building something from scratch really, gets me going. I think it really, inspires me, and something that I can look forward to. So yeah, and I'm just, I think, trying my hand at different things now, and I've been working with startups to see if I can work with them on a freelance basis, and learn more about how startups are built and like take them from 0 to 1, which is essentially the phase of a startup wherein it's nothing, and taking it from 0 to 1, which essentially means that building it from ground, like how it literally sounds, and witnessing the very foundation of of how a company is built. So yeah, I think it's my journey overall. Getting back to your question, has just been about experimenting, exploring, and going after what my whatever my heart says, going after that.
Absolutely, I agree. Experimentation is really, really crucial for you to grow and learn a lot of new things. So, I want to learn a bit more about your experience when you got shortlisted from Bain, if I'm not wrong. Could you please elaborate more about your experience on that?
Shortlisted by
Bain.
Bain, right? Oh yeah. So I think it was so long back, I don't remember a lot of it, but I think they had a written test, if I'm not wrong, which, like all companies do usually, which tests your critical thinking and logical thinking abilities. It is also a little mathematical in nature, most tests are. So I think I made it through that. And I and then, I mean, there was this first round of interviews, which was essentially like, I think, about guesstimates and case studies. And I think I had another round of interview as well, which I tanked because I think I was not very comfortable with guesstimates at that time. And I think the interview process also made me realize that this is not something that I want to do full time. Like, I didn't think I wanted to do consulting, like, proper consulting full time, at Bain. So yeah, I mean, I think that was like my first proper failure, and I was like, and then, I mean, it didn't really hurt me either. And I think that's when I realized that maybe I didn't want it anyways in the first place. So yeah, I think, I mean, I don't remember much as to what the exact questions were, but I mean, of course, there was your HR round of interviews, which talked about what are my aspirations, ambitions, inspirations, why do I want to join the company, my background, what I've been up to, my internships, what I've learned in my internships, what I've learned during college, blah blah blah. And yeah, I mean, those, like, the more generic questions that you have in interviews. And then, of course, there were like more technical questions such as case studies and guesstimates, which, I mean, I think Bain also, I think, does it very well. So I think if you just go on Bain's website, they have a whole section of case studies, which you can go through. So I think that's something that I did when I was in college and when I was preparing for placements. So I think that's something that people can do. But
Okay, great, great,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, would you want me to talk about my DSHA interview experience as well?
Definitely, please go ahead. We would love to hear you.
Right. Okay, so I think, again, they had like a test of sorts, and I think they also had like an asynchronous round of interviews, which essentially means that after the MCQ based test, you are gonna have a set of questions on your screen, and you're gonna have to record yourself while answering the questions. So these questions are again like an amalgamation of different things, like probably like your HR round interview questions, such as tell us the 3 challenges that you faced while you were doing an internship and how did you overcome them. And also, like, there was one technical question which talked about payment gateways, right? The online payment gateways like UPI, and how I think they can solve the problem of black money. And I think I was just like authentic and honest in those, while answering those questions. And it's also like a little different because you don't have anyone sitting in front of you. You're just talking to a computer essentially. But I think that's what it's supposed to test. It is an interview before you actually get an interview call from the company. So I was just honest, and I think for the last question, which was like more technical in nature, I remember I didn't know a lot about gateways, and I think I also didn't have like I mean, I had economics, but I had only studied it for 2 years, and economics also is like not very. I mean, it didn't talk about payment gateways essentially. I remember I didn't have like the technical know-how as to like how it can make sense economically, but like I think I just remember quickly Googling the meaning of the term so that I know what I'm talking about. And then I think I just went in with a strong opinion, and I said that obviously, like, black, if everything is tracked in a better way, obviously, we would be able to eradicate the problem to some extent. And having said that, I don't think we can completely get rid of it, but I mean, I think it's a step in the right direction. And then I got shortlisted for the next round of interview, which was again an HR based interview, which talked about my journey and why my motivation behind applying for Tisha and for the role that I was applying for. And yeah, I think I remember that lasted for like 40 to 45 minutes. It was so long. But I mean, I think I really enjoyed it. I think the interviews that I really enjoy are the ones wherein the interviewers really make an effort to dive deep and understand what are my core principles and aspirations and how I would be a good fit. And then I think there was another round of interview, which was with like a more senior level person, like a director sort of person. And I think after that, I got the offer.
Okay, great, nice. It must be a really nice experience for you, and you must have learned a lot. And I want to understand, yeah, I want to understand a bit more about your experience at Spill and Now and Me that shaped your understanding of the startup ecosystem.
Right. Okay. So let me talk about Now and Me first. So that we can go chronologically. So I think I joined Now and Now and Me is founded by two LSR alums, Bani and Drishti, who are wonderful people. And I mean, the idea was also very unique and interesting, right? It is about building an app, a social media app for mental health. And the idea was very interesting. And I think when I joined Now and Me, it was still very much in its initial stages. So they were experimenting a lot. And I think the best part about working in a startup is that you can do multiple things. Like, your job description is not defined. And I think that's like liberating and interesting because you get to do multiple things, you get to try out multiple things. And I think if you get to do that when you're in college, that's really a bliss, because then you'd be able to identify what you like and what you don't. So I remember when I was working at Now and Me, I was writing a blog, like they had a blog, so I was taking care of that. I was managing a team of 25 interns. I was interviewing people. And then I think they also ended up having this. We used to have these Instagram live sessions every week, which were called After 8 with Ananya, because I think it used to happen at 8 p.m. Every Thursday or Friday. Yeah, so I mean, I got my own show and it made me feel really interesting. And we used to invite like a lot of content creators and, people from the professional world or people who have just done interesting things, who have taken a leap of faith. So I mean, that was really interesting. And I think I also realized that I really enjoy talking to people, and like I think I really enjoy podcasting as well. So that was the time when I realized that. And then I think that was the first time when I started doing graphic designing first. So I think it was Bani who introduced me to it, because we wanted to do something interesting with the website. And then we just we were trying our hands at Canva and other apps, and I realized, wow, this is also something that I really like. And I feel like it's a wonderful way to express yourself, which is something that has always been very important for me, to express myself creatively. So I think that Now and Me gave me multiple ways to express myself, like podcasting, writing, managing people, graphic designing. So all in all, it was a wonderful experience working there. And yeah, I mean, I think, but also on the downside, I think it was a little difficult to manage that with my college curriculum, which I think is a challenge with any internship, right? But yeah, I mean, I think I learned a lot from it. Now I think working at Spill is something again that I've started doing recently. So I think it has only been a month since I've been working with them. And again, I think I've really learned a lot. And I mean, I love the idea. I think if you're really working for a startup, I think you really have to love the idea. Like it should personally inspire you. So, I mean, Spill's idea is that they're building a social media platform which is audio based, and like how it literally sounds, you're spilling, the latest gossip or the latest pop culture trend in an attempt to, connect with like minded people. And you're talking about the things that you like about a certain, like you get these prompts and you talk about what you like in that certain prompt, or like that trend, like the trend that the prompt is talking about. So I think it's a very interesting idea, and I do feel like there are these hierarchies in the current social media platforms, and which leaves little room for like personal connect, which I think is what Spill is trying to bridge. So yeah, I've been doing multiple things. I've been working with the founder directly to like I've been working in the intersection of content, marketing, building the team, growing, finding the culture. So I think it has been very exhilarating, to say the least. And yeah. So we're also talking to VCs right now. So I mean that's also interesting. I might go to Gurgaon for a bit to work with them, like for a week maybe. Like see the office and everything. So I think it's just very exciting to just be 22 and be able to do multiple things and be part of something which is still in its where it's in its initial stages. So yeah.
Okay, that's really nice. Okay, so what advice would you give to recent graduates who are unsure about their career paths?
Right, recent graduates, you say, so like not people who are in college. So I feel like when I was in college, I mean, I was the most confused person ever, and I think my various stints reflect that. So I think I would say that it's absolutely okay to be confused. It's absolutely okay to not have your life figured out at like what 21, 22. I did not have that, right? And I think the only things I believed in were like very core principles that I've always had, like consistency, authenticity, and just like experimenting, and not holding myself back in any way. So I think the best way to go about it would be to, I mean, probably narrow down what you might be interested in. Like if you have no idea what stimulates you, then probably just narrow down like broad areas that you might be interested in. Also the areas that sort of probably align with your career path or with the trajectory that you've had. And even if it doesn't, that's also fine. Like if you want to do something completely in contrast with your degree or with your past journey, that's also absolutely fine. So I feel like once you narrow that down, like narrow it down to like probably 2 to 3 jobs that you would like, I think it's best to sort of also make a list of the companies that you feel are doing well in that area. And by companies, I mean both startups as well as established corporations. And like for instance, if you want to get into marketing, right, so there are great companies out there like Shebang, which is also an agency, which is I mean it's a startup, but I mean it is well established now, and they constantly keep hiring. So I think it's a great company to work in right after graduation if you're interested in marketing. And then there are a lot of agencies that you can work with, right? But there are also, I mean, bigger corporations like Amazon, L'Oreal, you can apply to for their marketing role. They also, I mean, if you just go on LinkedIn, they have a lot of listings mentioned on their job, on their like company page. Having said that, I wouldn't say that blindly apply for jobs. If you want to do an internship, do that first if you don't feel like confident of the fact that you would want to do this full time. So do an internship or work with them part time first. And the best way to go about it is not to apply through LinkedIn. The best way to go about it is like directly find a person who's working there, who is probably the hiring manager, and or someone who has already worked there or is currently working there, and understand from them what are the requirements, what are the skill sets that these people are looking for in that specific company for that specific role, and tailor your resume according to that. And also I think probably just create a portfolio for yourself. So I mean, if you just share a black and white resume, you can't expect someone to give you a job. I mean, that's also fine, but like if you want to stand out, you might want to go the extra mile. So I mean, the best way is to cold email, cold write to these people. And on LinkedIn, you don't DM anyone these days, right? Everybody is within your reach, and I think that's the best part. Not everyone will reply, obviously, and that's why I think you should make a list of 10 to 20 people that you think might be of help and reach out to them. And out of those 20 people, I think 2 might reply, but you can like probably use the same template for each of them and customize it. So I mean, I remember that I was applying for a role at Netflix once, and I managed to get a referral from one of the people working over there at the time, and that was purely because I reached out to him on LinkedIn and I told him that I'm really interested in the role, and he had also made a short film very recently when I reached out to him back then. And I quickly watched the short film, and I sort of, managed to gather 2 to 3 insights that I really liked about the film, and that is what I mentioned in my email to him. And I wrote that this is what really stood out for me in your film, and I think that sort of establishes that personal connect. Because if you just reach out to someone and say that, oh, can you give me a referral, then that's not gonna work probably. And yeah, and I think I'm sure most of you already know that, but if you get a referral in a company, especially in one of your large corporations where there are all these structures in place, that's so much better than directly applying, because employee referral establishes credibility, and it says that if an employee already working in that company is referring you, that implies that it enhances your application essentially. So yeah, so I mean, I would say do that and experiment, explore. I mean, go wherever your heart takes you, and don't be afraid to take risks. I think that would be more of the general advice that I have to give. But I think, in particular, like what I said earlier about cold emailing and reaching out to people and doing all of that is what should help you.
Definitely, definitely. And one more thing, you must work hard to get your dream job, your internship. You must work hard for that. You just can't sit and, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that, like I said, consistency.
You're saying?
Yeah, I think I was just adding on to what you said in terms of hard work. Like, consistency, I think, goes a long way. Staying consistent and disciplined is something which is extremely important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Definitely. So, how do you build resilience in the face of setbacks or uncertainty?
Right. So I feel once you give in, like either, so if if you've encountered a failure, I think there are only 2 ways how it may have happened. A, maybe you didn't give it your 100%, right? And B, maybe that was just not the right fit for you. Like, it is possible that you might have done everything that you possibly could and you still didn't achieve the desired results. But I think whenever I've encountered a failure or a setback, I think it has only pushed me in a direction I think I was meant to go in. And I think it does have a very like poetic, philosophical touch to it as well. But I do feel like we do end up where we're supposed to be. So I think it's trusting in the process. I mean, after giving it your best shot, trusting in the process really helps. And and I think just taking in what you have learned in the process. And I feel like success is not just measured in terms of the tangible outcomes it provides you with, right?
True.
It's so not true. Just, I mean, I know that the society makes it like that. Like, if you're writing an exam, then if you've cleared the exam is the only measure of success. But that's so not true. Like, if you've prepared for the exam, if you've prepared for, let's say, CAT, right? That in itself is so competitive. So your chances of making it in is already like what? I mean, I'm sure they're pretty bizarre. But so even if you didn't get it, it's probably, I mean, if you have already given it your best shot, I feel even if you didn't make it, I'm sure there are multiple things that you've learned. Like, CAT in itself is such an interesting exam in terms of, like the logical aptitude that it tests, the comprehension skills that it tests. So at least you've grown in that way. And I feel like just consistently studying for an exam in a disciplined way in itself, such an interesting way to look at it, right? Like, it in itself has substantial returns. And I think there's this quote in in Kota factory that goes like तैयारी की जीत नहीं जीत ही तैयारी है which I feel like sums up my take on this question, that the journey in itself is supposed to be enriching, and even though the end result may not turn out to be how you want it to turn out, it's, I think, the best way to build resilience, to continue to move on, is to just take in whatever that experience taught you and apply it in whatever is in store next.
And even if you'll not win, but at least you will learn a lot from that experience.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
looking ahead, so what are your long-term career goals?
Long-term career goals, I think I want to build something of my own. I want to have a startup. So, I mean, right now I want to go for my MBA next year is what the idea is, because I want to have that sort of network that I can have, and also I think acquire some of the technical knowledge to enter the space. And I think then I would definitely want to build a startup of my own. And yeah, I think
Wow, that's really great.
yeah, and I think more than that, I think just have something, have a career that I can be proud of. I think that's more subjective, but like something that I can be proud of, right? More than like not something that people are proud of, but something that I am proud of. And also, I think
True.
continue to write
Absolutely.
more, even if it is on a freelance basis or a part-time basis. And yeah, express more, I think, through like LinkedIn and content creation and podcasting. And I think I also enjoy mentoring people and, you know, talking to college students like you. So I think I also want to continue doing that. And I think I was just making my top mate profile today. So I think that is in the pipeline as well. So let's see. I think a lot of things need to be done, but yeah, I'm excited for all of it.
Great, great, very nice. And finally, to wrap up, what do you miss most about your time at LSR?
I don't think I can put a pin on it because I think it's everything. You know, if you just talk about food, is what comes to my mind primarily, because like I miss the Nescafe coffee and frappe and iced tea and Maggie, chili cheese Maggie so much. But I think more than that, I mean, on a more on a deeper level, I think I just miss the conversations I used to have at LSR. Like just the environment, the atmosphere, the air was so liberating. Like I remember I just step in and somebody would be talking about changing the world. Somebody would be talking about you know, like politics and feminism and philosophy, and they're just different conversations happening in multiple corners of the college. And also to walk the same to walk the same corridor as you know, wonderful people who are doing great now, like, you know, my batchmates, even Manu Bhakar, who was from my batch, who graduated in 2022, who's, you know, who's done great at the Olympics. I think just being surrounded,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think just being surrounded with that kind of energy, that kind of ambition and drive was just, I mean, it's, even when I'm as I'm saying it out loud, I think it's giving me goosebumps, because that's what it felt like to be at LSR. And I think LSR was also like my first college, like the first time I was living away from home. So I moved to Delhi in a spur of a moment, and I mean, it was again very liberating to live by myself, to you know, to support my own self. I remember I was paying my rent by myself through the part-time internships that I was doing. So I mean, just, you know, being that self-reliant, and just doing whatever I wanted to, and trying my hand at different things were the best bits. And also I think the professors, because I remember being so inspired by the professors, like, you know, SC Sharna's ma'am, and Maitri ma'am, and I mean, such wonderful professors. I'm sure you are also doing English honors, you must know of them.
True, true. I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, so I think as in, like,
It's
as soon
not,
as
you can't choose just one professor. All of them are just so nice.
I
All of them
know,
are just great.
yeah. And I think I really miss our lectures as well. I remember studying Mahabharat with SC, right?
Yeah. We
And
studied
she
in,
was
in Sem 1, I guess.
exactly, yeah, yeah. And I had just stepped into college at that point of time, and I was just so amazed by that world. I mean, you were talking
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
Mahabharata and how it's like the politics of it, and like
Yeah.
how just I mean I think studying it from a very critical lens. And I remember Essie used to get so
Yes.
vivid.
The way she was explaining it was
Exactly.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think she's a wonderful professor, and other people as well. Like
True.
whenever they teach,
Absolutely.
they'd be so alive. Like they really love it. They're really into it, and I think that would in turn inspire me to just really like take interest in it. I think, yeah, even though like I've not been, there are no practical implications of it, right? Like there are no direct applications of what we studied. I feel like that just really changed the way I look at the world. I think I missed that. I just miss the
Yeah.
conversations the most.
Nice. So we are at the end of this episode. Thank you so much. I believe all of us will get to learn a lot from this particular episode, and I think we can wrap it up. Huge thanks to Ananya ma'am for joining us today and sharing an incredible journey from college to the professional world. Remember, everyone, life after graduation is your time to explore, learn, and grow. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep navigating your career path with confidence. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anjali, for having me. Have a great day ahead to you and to whoever is
Thank
listening to
you.
this.
Thank you so much.